Mark chapter 2 and verse 2. St. Mark chapter 2 and verse 2. And from the King James reading of the Bible, this is what it says. And straightway many were gathered together, inasmuch that there was no room to receive them, no, not so much as about the door. And he preached the word unto them. And I want to talk for just a few moments when Jesus comes to town.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When Jesus comes to town.
Yes, sir.
When Jesus comes to town, an analogy for his coming into our lives, it interrupts the usual flow of activities. Things are just not the same when Jesus arrived. And when he leaves, there is a great difference in most people's lives. In fact, when he comes to town, it's virtually impossible for him to leave without affecting somebody. Can I get a witness?
All right, yes, sir.
There was certainly truth after his temptation in the wilderness. And he having come into the city of Capernaum, people rushed to where he was in multitudes. His mission required him, brothers and sisters, to reach the mass.
Yes, sir.
And having introduced himself to the area of Capernaum through the works of miracles, when it was noise that he was in the city again,
Yes, sir.
crowds came.
Yes, sir.
And that says that we ought to be able to affect somebody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We may not be able to affect the crowd, but it ought to be somebody in a pathway that will affect their lives.
Yes, sir.
And affect their lives for the better for them.
Yeah. Right.
Can I get a witness?
Yes, sir.
Mark said that in the text of the day that many were gathered together, inasmuch as there was no room to receive them, no, not even as much as the door. In other words, there were so many people gathered there that they couldn't even get in the door.
Yes, sir.
Can I get a witness?
Yeah.
He reminded me at one time in our church right here.
Right.
At Rosehill, there were so many people in here. We had to open the double doors and put chairs all out in the foyer and all down the aisle here. The choir stand was full and the pulpit was full. And the sanctuary was full to capacity. But now, where are they?
All right. All right.
Can I get a witness?
Yes, sir.
And so the Bible said that there was noise, according to Mark 2 and 2. However, Jesus had already have gained the attention of the multitude in Capernaum, but did not perform any miracles.
All right.
Are y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
He's not here to perform miracles. He's not here to heal the sick, nor give eyesight to the blind. Can I get a witness?
All right.
He's here to preach the gospel to the peoples at Capernaum.
All right.
Sometimes, brothers and sisters, It's not healing time, but preaching time.
Talk, sir. Yes, sir.
Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And so, my brothers and sisters, people were looking for healing on this particular day.
All right.
But Jesus identified himself and said that it's not healing today, but it's listening time.
All right.
Isn't that right? And so, rather than to expound, brothers and sisters, he began to expound on the message. Mark said, and he preached the word unto them.
Yes, sir.
At this time, they don't need healing,
All right.
but they need saving.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that right? Jesus was, brothers and sisters, in town to expound on the word of God.
Yes, sir.
To preach to the peoples the gospel that was needed at this time. I wish to lift up, brothers and sisters, this short passage. He preached the word unto them.
All right.
It is imperative that we preach the word of God.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that right? It is imperative that we proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
The Bible says, how can you hear without preaching?
Yes, sir.
How can they preach except they be sent by God?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have a lot of preachers can holler and scream. You have a lot of preachers can rigmarole. You have a lot of preachers can do a lot of things, but not preaching.
All right.
Preaching is proclaiming the word of God.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Preaching is not self, but preaching is proclaiming the gospel of Jesus.
Yes, sir.
From the story itself and focus on the magnitude of the importance of expounding on the word.
All right.
When I come to church, my main focus should be to praise and to preach.
Yes, sir.
Can I get a witness?
Yes, sir.
Because the people are listening, looking for a word from the Lord.
Yes, sir.
And I stop by to tell you today that there is a word from God.
All right.
Preaching is based upon the promise that God has spoken and speaking to someone to hear, and he that speaketh, she that speaks the word and say the words of God.
Yes, sir.
Are y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
In addition, the person or the individual claimed to hear has been ordered to speak or to preach him or her, and to tell others that he or she has been called a spokesman for God.
All right.
Are y'all will stay with me? There would be no expounding on the word of preaching of the word of God, except as assumption that not only that, but are held true to be true by God.
All right.
Is that right?
Right.
Everyone that's called to preach by God must be recognized that God called them and not themselves. Is that right? Jesus said today I come to preach the gospel to you.
Yeah.
That you may have life more abundantly.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? I come to preach the gospel to you to bring you out of darkness into the marvelous light.
All right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I come to preach the gospel to you to wake you up from the reality that sin is knocking at your door.
Yes, sir.
Can I get a witness?
Oh, yeah.
Therefore, the expounding of the word of preaching, brothers and sisters, carry with it a responsibility.
Yes, sir.
So preaching carries a great responsibility. We cannot take this lightly, what God has called us to do.
Yeah.
We must walk right. We must talk right. We must act right.
Yeah.
And we must live right.
Yes, sir.
Can I get a witness?
Yes, sir.
You ought to be identified before you meet a person. They can look at you and say, there's something peculiar about that person.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Yes,
And
sir.
especially preachers of the gospel of Jesus.
All right.
And y'all gonna put with me? And so the next thing that is important as Jesus preached is reason. And then the third thing is, as he preached, there must be some results.
Yes, sir.
Can I get a witness?
Oh, yeah.
Responsibility, reason, and results.
Yes, sir.
Let's take take a look at these for a little while.
All right.
Maybe about 15 to 16 minutes.
Preach it, Reverend.
Preaching responsibility. Those who claim to be preachers
Yes, sir.
of the word take upon themselves an awesome responsibility.
Yes, sir.
It's no light thing to be called a preacher and preaching the word of God.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? Either they are a true caller or they're crazy.
All right.
Can I get a witness? Because preaching, brothers and sisters, bring about it to a preacher a lot of misery sometimes.
Yes, sir.
Preacher sometimes is the most hated man or woman in the world.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they're always dictating and always meddling in my business.
All right.
Can I get a witness? God called us to meddle in folks' business.
All right.
If you're not meddling in folks' business, I start to tell you that you're not preaching.
All right. All right.
You know what I'm saying? It's all right to preach. God loves you, and He will give you everything you need. But He also wants us to tell them that sin is damnation to their soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they need to be saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. Can I get a witness? They need to live right. They need to walk right. They need to let Christ live and show Christ in their lives. When Jesus comes to town, God changes things in our lives. If He come to your house and has not changed anything in your house, He had not been to your house. He just went by your house. Can I get a witness here? And so, brother and sister, to be able to preach the gospel of Jesus. Some folks said to me, Reverend, you crazy for preaching the gospel. Don't you know how folks gonna treat you? I'm not worried about how folks treat me.
Yeah.
But I'm worried about how I treat them.
All right.
Can I get a witness?
Yes, sir.
And so I say to us today, there are three reasons. One, the preacher who preaches presume, one, declaring what God speaks and are spoken. And deal, brothers and sisters, with the destiny of man's soul.
All right.
When we preach, we have to preach what God tells us to preach.
Yes, sir.
Can I get a witness?
Yes, sir.
Because we are deal with men's and women's soul. And one of the things that I don't want to be guilty of is causing a man or woman to die and go to hell.
All right.
Can I get a witness?
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to tell them anything that's wrong. And when I say, you can back it up in the Word of God.
Yes, sir.
Unless I say, God has told me to tell you.
All right.
Can I get a witness? I try to stay close to the Word of God as much as possible.
Yes, sir.
Because if I stay close to the Word of God, then I can't go wrong.
Yes, sir.
And so we deal with the destiny of man's soul and faces a dual condemnation and misuse of the preaching of the Word of God.
All right.
Can I get a witness?
Yep.
The person or individuals who preach presume to speak from God. And when they speak from God and God has not spoke to them, then they're lying on God.
Yeah.
Can I get a witness? And I'd rather hear what God has to say than to lie on God.
Right.
Can I get a witness?
Yeah.
And though it is an awesome responsibility, when we think of God and His greatness, His omnipotence, and when we think of His omnipresence, when we think of His omniscience and His omniscience.
Yeah.
How can any human being say with limited knowledge and confined to such a small area of time and space.
All right.
Can I get a witness? Even think of being able to speak for the Almighty. When I look around and see how big God is and what God has covered in my life, I ask myself, am I worthy to be called a child of God? And am I able to preach the word of God? Can I get a witness here? And so my brother and my sister, as I move on, when we think of God's goodness and His mercy, I just think about how far He has brought me from and how good He has been in my life. Is that right? And confined in such a small space in my situation and bring about the Almighty to speak down and speak to me. Is that right? I can consider myself as the least one of all, but God spoke to me one day and said, I want you to carry my word. Is that right? I want to tell you today, my brother and my sister, because man knows such a small limitation. Man doesn't have much going on in his life unless God is with him. He got good today and throughout the age they have been reluctant to speak of God. Isn't that right? Moses recognized his limitation and he said, now Lord, you want me to go down in Egypt and you want me to speak. Is that right? He said, who am I that I should go down and talk to the children of Israel? Who am I that I should go down and talk to Pharaoh? Ain't God good today? I want you to know today, sometimes you can think that you are too small, but you're big enough for God. Ain't God all right? And don't think today because of who you are. God doesn't care about how much education you have, because you have, how small you are, what your frame may be. He said, I want you to go out in my name. You go, I'll go with you. When you speak, I'll speak for you. He told Moses, don't worry about your voice, and don't worry about your stature, don't worry about your stuttering. When you get down there, I'll tell you what to say. Ain't God all right? And the Bible says, when he got down there, God has straightened his voice out. Ain't God all right? I won't tell you, if you got a limitation, God can straighten them for you. If you got some small things, God can bring them up in your life. Ain't God all right? If your esteem is down, God can lift you up. Isn't that right? The things you think you couldn't do, if you put your head in God's hands, you can do them. Ain't God all right? I want to tell you, as I get ready to close, I heard him saying, there's certain responsibilities suggest to us that you should speak about the Almighty of God. Ain't God all right? I want to tell you that you deal with the destiny of man. When you talk to somebody, their life is in your hands. When you talk to them because it's an awesome responsibility to preach to somebody or to teach somebody, because their life is in your hands. You deal with the soul of man. Ain't God all right? I want to tell you, every Sunday morning when I come here to church, I'm dealing with the souls of men. I'm trying to get them ready to receive eternal life. Ain't God all right? I want to tell you, the reason I preach so hard, I don't want my word to be lost. I don't want to go back, boy. Ain't God alright. God Almighty, I want to tell you that now they are hungry in Bethany. Isn't that right? In Capernaum, there's hunger in the souls of men. They're wishing to know how to be saved. Ain't God all right? They're crying, saying, what must I do to be saved? Ain't God all right? Preaching lead to souls astray with God. Isn't that right? The blood of Jesus needs to be preached to the soul of man. Ain't God all right? Jeremiah declared, woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the flock. Ain't God all right? And the pastor that said that the Lord of Jeremiah 23 and 1, preaching of the gospel of Jesus Christ with a responsibility. Ain't God all right? You dealing with the souls of men. You undertaking, brothers and sisters, that there are many people spread throughout this world that the doctrine needs to hear. Ain't God all right? And lead men down the path of where destruction don't hear the word of God. Ain't God all right? Take a look at our world today and see how things are going. They tell us that man is going down a one-way street. Ain't God good? Get God all right? I want to tell you that Jesus said, now I come to preach the word. Good God Almighty, I come to save somebody's soul. Somebody's sick today, but not body, but sick in the mind. Ain't God all right? Somebody here today don't know right from wrong. Somebody here today, he said, don't know ups and downs. Somebody here today have been fooled about false doctrine. Ain't God all right? Somebody here today have been listening to the wrong preacher. Somebody here today have been listening to the wrong message. I come to set the record straight. You must be born again. Ain't God all right? You must be baptized, and you must be filled with the Holy Ghost. Ain't God all right? Jesus come and saying, I came to give my life for you. Ain't God all right? I will lay it down that you may have life more abundantly. Ain't God all right? I come that you may live, and you gonna live because of my coming, because I'm getting ready to go to a place called Calvary. When I go to Calvary, you can come the other Calvary. My blood is gonna come down, and you can wash underneath the cross. My blood is stained and lose all your guilty stain. I come that you may have more life. I come that your children may have more life. I come that you may live again. I'm going to Calvary and I'm going to shed my blood. I'm going to take your sin off the Calvary with me. When I come down, you'll be clean. When I come down, you'll be clean. You will be clean. He said, I'm going to do what the Mosaic law couldn't do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm going to do what the blood of bullocks and sheep couldn't do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He would uncover a handful of folks. And many times, one person. But Jesus said, the Lamb, I'm the Lamb from the foundation. And my blood will cover everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that right? As he went to Calvary, shed his blood. Joseph got him down from the cross, laid him in Joseph's new tomb. They had hewed out. On the third day morning, the angels rolled the stone away.
Yes, sir.
Y'all hear me?
Oh, yes.
The stones in your life and the stones in your life. Jesus can roll away. Jesus can roll away.
Yes, sir.
I don't care what it is.
Yes, sir.
He can roll them away. Ain't God good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Roll the stone away. When the ladies got there, angel was sitting on the edge of the tombs. Who are you looking for?
Yeah.
We're looking for Jesus. He says, he's not here. He's risen,
Yes, sir.
as he said he would.
Yes.
Why seek the living among the dead?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So if you're here today, Jesus died for you.
Yes, sir.
If you're here today, he rose for you.
Yes, sir.
He rose for you. There's a time. There's a time for all things